Believe it or not, people that build high-end furniture or woodworking projects don't use chop saws for achieving perfect crosscuts. They use a table saw along with its miter gauge. The truth is that even a high-end miter saw like this one just isn't capable of making the precise cuts you need for fine woodworking. I want to show you a few of the tricks for cross-cutting on a table saw. I'm going to leave the guard off so you can see what's going on here, but I'll still use a riving knife. For most cuts, the guard isn't a problem, and you should use yours when the cut allows it. Before I show you those tricks, I want to give you a heads up. Never ever use a fence to cross-cut boards. There's a better than even chance the board will get pinched between the blade and the fence, and you'll have a real serious kickback on your hands. And I guarantee you'll get hurt. I almost always screw a fence to the miter gauge so I have better support for the boards I'm cross-cutting. Be sure to use a straight board for this and pick screws that don't make it through the fence. Place the fence so it runs beyond the blade. I'll show you why in a second. Never ever trust the protractor on your miter gauge. Instead, square it up by pushing a chunk of 3/4 board into the miter gauge slot, then use a framing square to square it up. Before you start cutting, take a minute to make sure your blade is square to the table. You can use any good square. Just stay away from the teeth with the edge of the square so you're pushing against the body of the blade itself. Now make a pass with your setup to create a kerf in the fence. This will tell you exactly where the blade will cut through your pieces so you can place them accurately before you make your cuts. To make the cut, it's just a matter of lining up your mark with the kerf and pushing it through the blade. Let's say you want to cut a whole bunch of identical length pieces. After you cut the first piece at exactly the right length, gently push it against the saw teeth and mark the fence at the other end. Then clamp a block to the fence and make all of your cuts. A little chamfer at the bottom will keep sawdust from piling up and throwing off cuts. It doesn't really matter if you have a high-end cabinet saw like this one, or even an inexpensive portable. Take a few minutes to set up your miter gauge and you can make perfect crosscuts every time a project calls for them.